Well, hello everyone. Happy Saturday. I am super excited about tonight. It is the last final night of the state of mental health in the Black community. I am just overly excited about today, not just because it's the last night, but because I have such a wonderful gift of a person that is going to be on with us tonight. And listen, if there's anything that probably may surprise you all of this whole week is that many of the people that you saw tonight are people that either have known more than 10 years to that of less than a year. I know sometimes people are saying you just can't trust everybody. You have to be mindful of who you bring on your show, and that's all very, very true. But it's something about kindred spirits. It's something about when you have people who, when you first meet them, you feel something about them. You feel like you can relate. And so tonight, it's one of those nights. Tonight, I have a young, I say young lady, but I have a special person that's on who I met in the month of November. And we happen to be both at a suicide prevention training, in which this is how our relationship formed, is because of this training. I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of it, but tonight's topic is about suicide. And as much as I always tell people I'm always excited about to talk about this, it also is a hard, sore subject for me to talk about. As most people know, and if you have never met me, you're one of friends of Queen Cookie. My name is Keandra, go by K Nicole or Kiki. I have struggled with suicide ideation since the age of 13 to 18 years old, 5 years straight. I dealt with it hard. It was probably the worst time of my life that I wanted to actually die. Again, at the age of 25, and just a year ago, at the age of 30, I wanted to give my life up. And so here we are tonight. We're going to talk about suicide. So if you're in the room, please let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're watching from. I know Queen Cookie's from Northern Ohio area, but she's famous in all kinds of parts. So I don't know who may be watching, where you're watching from. Let us know where you're watching from. At the same time you're coming in, please share the video. Let people know to join in right now. They don't want to wait till the conversation has already started. So I'm not gonna waste any more time. I'm just gonna bring Queen Cookie into the room with me. All right. How you doing there?
Hi, K Nicole. I'm doing the best I can, baby.
Yes. I'm loving your energy today. Loving it.
Thank
and
you.
I think it's because I saw you twice today that I'm loving your energy even more. Like real talk. We'll get to it. I know we just talked about it, but looking at the documentary and now seeing you face to face, and then talking to you 2 nights ago, I'm feeling your energy across these waves. So man, I do some people just got a spirit, like they just got good spirits, and when you're around, like I said earlier, when you're around connected kindred spirits, you can't help but your body to feel the way they do.
Yes.
Yeah, and we felt that way back in November.
We sure did. We had a great time at that seminar.
We did.
A lot.
I was telling a coworker today. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself in a second, but let's dialogue for me. Let people know how we met. When I got to that training, I think I was there before you on that Saturday, and I'm gonna be out and be me. I was the only minority at the time, and I kept thinking like, I hate going to these trainings when you're the only minority. And it's not because I'm the only one. It's like, where's our voice being heard if we don't come to these trainings? Like,
yes.
If we don't come to them, then people don't, our people won't get the knowledge they need to know. And then here you come. But not did you just come. The way you dress, your energy, I was like, oh, I'm not alone tonight. Like, I'm not alone. And
but what I find in going to support groups, a lot of time I am the fly in a bowl of rice, if you know what I mean. I'm usually the only minority in the room because for some reason I don't know if our people don't avail themselves to help, but we don't tend to reach out to support groups, to counseling, to get help. We think we can fix these things that's bothering us all by ourselves. And
yeah, yeah. And we know that not to be true. And the one thing that it was crazy, because I was literally so I literally was telling people the story earlier in my job, and I was like, when we met, I said there was one side of people. I felt like when you looked in the room, there were people beyond the color were there to gain knowledge, right? They were there to learn. And here you were, you were on. So let's say there was 3 groups of people. There was people there to gain knowledge. There were people like you who have personally witnessed a family member or a friend, and some people was watching us in the case that came to this training. And then there was the other party that I was in, the group that I was in, the people who were either in the attempts and the people who had well-planned. I call it ideation. That's what it's called. When you think about it so much, you plan it out, you made it. I've never attempted, but my thoughts have came pretty darn close. I'll even say this and chime in for this 1 minute, say this. I was telling somebody earlier that I took my CCW class 2 years ago. And I have not got my license because of fear. I know fear, is not a good thing to have, but because a year ago I struggled before I met you in August, a year ago, I struggled with, once again, the thoughts of taking my own life. So before you met me, you might have never met me because it came back again strong. And so I've yet to take my, get my license, because if I get my license, of course I'm gonna get a car, right? I mean, if I get my license, of course I'm going to get gun, right? I mean, why would you get a license?
Yeah, that's one reason why I fear having a gun in my home. I know everybody right now tends to be running out, getting guns and getting their license and CCWs and everything. But I just have this fear because I've had low points in my life. And if you get so low and you have a gun in your house, sometimes spontaneously, before thinking, you might grab that gun and take yourself out.
Yes. And so people I just left a family gathering of my best friends, and they were like, Kiki, you be safe. And I'm like, I am knowledgeable enough about myself to know that I don't need to get my license yet, of fear that I'll take my own life.
Yes.
That's why I didn't get my license until I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
And
that's okay, because you know what, Kay, Nicole, I am so glad that I ran into you at that meeting. Because like you said, I had a kindred spirit with you. Maybe because we were the only 2 minorities, I don't know. But then too, you can feel the energy. It's not about being a minority, because you could have been a white woman, a Mexican woman, an Asian woman. But if the spirit is there, you can feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I felt it, and I was so glad that you were there. And I'm so glad that you didn't take your life. I'm so glad.
Listen, can we go back to that class for one more second? Because you were there. Can you let the people know how I scared? I think I scared the trainers. Because remember when we had to practically act like we were glad to contemplate suicide? And remember I was on that chair, and the girl couldn't talk me down with all the training we went through. They were like, cut. And you know what? To be honest, let me tell you this, and I'm going into you. I'm done talking.
Okay.
I've never told you. Well, this is probably the first time publicly I'm saying this, but in that moment, I had a very surreal image in my mind. Like, that was practice, right? It was practice, but it made me realize how close I really don't want to die. Like, I literally got teary-eyed telling that girl no. And I got teary-eyed because I told her something that was real to me. I told her, no, I wasn't getting down, like, quote, unquote, the bridge, because that's something I can control. And we'll talk about that later. People who die by suicide, not all, that's the one thing they can control. And it's not the best reason. I'm not saying, I don't want anybody to think I'm suggesting, but they can control that. They can control their emotions. If they don't feel like they can. And in that moment, when I said, no, I can control my death.
Oh, most definitely.
When I said that, I'm so glad they say stop, because I felt surreal. I was like, wow. Because I've always thought I was going to jump off a bridge. I got other ways. But jumping a bridge, driving off a bridge or a hill, and I couldn't be by my house alone. I had, we had crazy nights in our house. So that was, I had ways, way I was going to do this. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wait. But Queen Cook, enough about me. Listen, this is great dialogue, but let people know who is this beautiful woman on the other side that I have the pleasure of talking to. Let people know who is Earlene Queen Cookie Mack. Is it Belcher?
Yes, Belcher. Yes. Yes, I was born Earlene Mack. And then I married my husband 40 plus years ago. His last name is Belcher. And then I became Queen Cookie when I gave myself a 60th birthday party. And it was titled Queen of Africa, okay? And then I used to sing on cruise ships, and I wanted a spicy name. So I came up with Cookie. So over 7 years ago, I started performing stand-up comedy. So what I did was I put the two names together, Queen and Cookie, and that's how Queen Cookie was born.
But I think it's so royalty. It's so royal, like, to have that name. It's spicy, but it's royal. Like,
Thank you. So that's the synopsis of it. I'm married, like I said, 40 years. I have one son. I have two stepchildren, and everybody's grown. And I have grandchildren. Okay, we have a total of about 9 or 10. I lose count. My husband has grandchildren, and I have grandchildren. And when you add them, put them together, it's about 9 or 10 of them. I can't remember because menopause. So that's basically my life. I got into being a suicide trained advocate, suicide prevention. I always tend to leave out prevention. My husband reminds me that I am a suicide prevention advocate. I got to be trained when I met you at the training seminar back in November. So I am trained to do this. And the reason I came to the training seminar, was because February the 18th, 2017, our oldest grandson, Ajane, we called him AJ, he took his life, okay? And it was so devastating. It was something that I had never experienced in my life, and it was like a death I had never experienced. Now, I've experienced losing family members. I lost both my parents. I lost my only sister. She was only 48 years young. Wow. I lost two brothers after I lost my grandson within months apart. But there has been no death that has changed my life like the death of my grandson by suicide. When I got that call that day, as you saw in the film, it was like it was like unbelievable, but it was believable. Yeah. Because his mother had taken her life in 2004. My grandson was only 12 at the time. And he wasn't able to deal with that because he carried his mother's coffin. And his mother not only left him behind, but she left 4 siblings as young as 2 months old. He was 12. And it was like when I got that call, it was devastating. But then to get the call about my grandson, because like I said, in the back of my mind, I kept trying to encourage him, keep him going in life, because in the back of my mind, I always had this premonition that because his mother had done it and she was only 31, that one day he would do the same thing if life got to be too difficult for him. And it was.
You know, you said something, you said it now and you said it earlier, and I said I was going to look this up, and I haven't looked this up, so I'm going to try to while we're talking. You know, statistically and scientifically, they tell you, you know, we read about it, that a child who had a parent that's been incarcerated or been addicted to drugs and alcohol has a higher probability of repeating those same things, right? And I've been wondering and looking, because you said this just now and you said it earlier in this documentary about you believe, you know, his mother's, you know, how she took her own life impacted him, and which it does. It definitely impacted him in the way he was raised, and his thoughts and his feelings and all of that. Because when you're a kid, especially 12 years old, you're still trying to find yourself, you know, and you're trying to find yourself. And then the person who you can identify with, who created you, leaves. You know, it's like, well, who am I with now? Right. And so I haven't looked it up, but I really want to know if there is some scientific proof into that. Not to say that just justifies it, but then I think then we as people who know people who have children would look at them and bring them a little, rear them in a little closer than making them try to process their emotions on their own and realizing, no, like that's traumatic.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
They need to be closer. So, so Lou, tell us who is, what was, and is, because I still believe in the way I look at suicide is that yes, they may be gone in the physical, but yeah, they're still here in the spiritual, because through your family members, they're still alive. And so tell us, who was your grandson like? What was his character like? Tell us. I want to know. Let the people get to know who Ajane. I saw part of his name. Ajane was it Jamal Burt?
It's Ajane. We called him AJ. He had 14 middle names. I'm exaggerating. But Xavier Jamal, last name Burt. He was originally going to be named Xavier Jamal, but his mom had watched a film, and it was a little boy in this film called Ajane. So she came to me while she was like in her 9th month of pregnancy, and she said, "Do you like this name, Ajane?" Right away, I said, "I love it," because I had never heard the name Ajane. It was so unusual. And like I said, a lot of people called him AJ, but I tended to call him Ajane because I love the name so much. But he was a vibrant baby. I remember when he was born, he was my first grandchild. And I went to the doctor's appointments with his mom. I'm a hands-on grandmother, so I did everything to make sure she ate healthy, to make sure that she did the right things during her pregnancy. And when that baby was born on October the 14th, 1991, I was probably the most happiest grandmother that you ever wanted to see. When that baby came through the womb, I was just like beside myself, because that was the first time I ever watched a birth.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I didn't see mine, because back then, they gave us medication. We couldn't see past the curtain. And they didn't let people back in the delivery room back when I had my son 50 years ago. But I watched him be born. So I fell in love with that baby right away, because it had been a long time since a baby had been born in my family. So when I saw him, I was the happiest grandmother, and he was the most prettiest baby. He didn't have a lot of hair at first, but as he kept growing older and older, he had a head full of curly locks. He loved to play football as he grew up. He loved to play baseball as a child. He was on teams. When he came to live in Toledo, or maybe he came to visit one year, I put him on a T-ball.
Okay.
For little kids, and he would play in the dirt on the bases rather than be paying attention to hitting the ball. But he got interested in baseball. He wanted to be a professional football player, but he started to have problems with his knees. And so that was out. But I loved that boy. I loved him. He loved girls, and girls loved him. That's why I never understood why he took his life, because he was such a good-looking young man. And I'm not saying that because he's my son. His father, my son, was a good-looking man. His father's father was a good-looking man. So that those good looks ran in the Burt family. Plus, his grandmother ain't bad either.
Yes.
So he was a very handsome young man, and I never understood why he took his life. He was going back and forth with some girl the week he took his life, and it was a Valentine's Day week. And I guess the girl had dissed him, as the young people like to say. And he was all distraught about that. And I called him like 10 days before he took his life, because I seen him on Facebook talking about the girl dissing him and blah, 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 blah. So I called him to tell him, AJ, quit being distraught over this young lady, because you too fine. There's too many women, too many fish in the sea. Don't be bothered with that one girl. There's girls that just dying to get with you. But he didn't pick up the phone because he was at work. Well, he called me back, and I didn't hear my phone ringing, but he left a message.
Okay.
And said, Grandma, I was at work. If you want to talk, hit me up. So I hit him back and he still didn't pick up the phone. So that's a regret of mine because 10 days later, he was gone. And I didn't get the chance to tell him how good looking of a man at 25 years young that he was. Very good looking.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I know you told us who Ajane was, and I want you to even help fill people in the parts where of his upbringing, because you know when you told me about Ajane being your grandson back in November, of course my heart breaks because it's another child who has died by suicide. But when you factor in all that he lived through, I recall in this documentary. Let's just do this. Let's tell people, because keep talking about documentary. Let's tell the name of the documentary. So while those who keep jumping in and out, because people do this on lives, they jump in and they jump out. And
yeah, I understand.
What documentary? So, Queen Cookie, give us the name of the documentary so they can write it down so they can go watch it when we get done.
Okay. The name of the documentary is A Cry for Help, the Ajane birth story. And it's now streaming on Amazon Prime. It's streaming on Vudu, iTunes, Google Play, and Mobit Fit. That's a streaming mobile TV. That's a streaming entity that just came online here recently. Matter of fact, the film director of my film has that streaming entity now, Mobile TV. So it's streaming on all of those entities. And I would suggest anybody that watch it have an open mind, and please feel free to write a review on the film, because when you write a review on the film, it keeps the film out there. It doesn't get shoved to the back of the film. You know what I'm saying? It keeps it up front so that it can continue to help people that are struggling with this thing that I call life. Because life can be a biatch. It can be. And at any moment, something could happen in our lives to make us change on a dime. And you never know if you will finish out this day based on what it is.
Yeah.
Because life is something, and we can't go through this thing called life by ourselves sometimes. Sometimes I've heard people say, I can fix myself. Well, I couldn't fix myself behind a suicide. I needed help. I had to go seek counseling, extensive counseling. I had to go to support groups. I started out with this support group called Compassionate Friends.
Okay.
It's here locally in Toledo. It's around the world. And it was for parents and grandparents that have lost their children, no matter how old your child was. It could be, a death by, carrying a baby and the baby didn't survive. It could be a stillbirth on the way up to children that are 50, 60 years old. So I started going there first, and they were very helpful to me, very helpful. They allowed me to cry. They understood my tears. I didn't even have to bring up what I was feeling because these people had already gone through it. But I needed a little something more, Kay. I needed to find me a suicide support group.
Yeah.
And I found one because I was the only suicide survivor or family survivor in the Compassionate Friends group. None of them had experienced death by suicide.
That's different.
Right, so it's a different death. So I went to and found me a suicide support group, and those people there understood it because they had been through it. They had lost children at young ages. The lady that sponsored the group, she lost her daughter over 25 years ago. And when she would tell her story, she would still shed tears because it's something that you will never, ever, ever get over. You will learn to adapt and adjust. I have not accepted it. Some people say they have accepted the suicide. I have not accepted it yet, but I have adapted and I have adjusted to losing my grandson because it's a new normal now. Matter of fact, I was telling my son, he came by yesterday, and for the first time since my grandson, his son, passed away, was the first time we were able to sit down and talk about it. That's been over 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
He had been carrying a lot of pain and anger towards me. I had been carrying a lot of pain and anger towards him. And we were able to sit down just yesterday. And that's been over 3.5 years ago. But I was glad that we were, because he wasn't ready when I was ready.
Right.
I gave him an analogy. Picture a hotel room. You know how a hotel room can have adjoining doors?
Yeah.
And you can open that door if you're having say a party with the people that
Yeah.
you know door to you. So this is the analogy that I gave my son yesterday. It was like being in a hotel with adjoining rooms. My door had opened relatively months after Ajane's death, but my son's door was closed. And I was knocking on his door, but I couldn't get him to open it. And you know what? Looking back at it, it was okay, because everybody has their time frame.
Yes.
When
Yes.
they can sit down and talk about these things, because death as a whole is traumatic, and suicide is even more traumatic.
Thank you. I'm glad it came out your mouth. I've been saying it. I know I think people get offended when I say it, but it's true. Like, the death of a suicide is different. And let me just tell some people who, and you can elaborate on this, because one, I've only witnessed friends, but not family, so I'm only going on this side. Okay. And plus the imagination of how I feel with my family. But I tell people all the time that when you die by suicide, given I wanted to die, you die by suicide, the people who are here they have a lot of questions, no answers. You have a lot of mystery, but no resolutions.
No.
And they forever, until they die, are forever going to deal with it. You, as you said, you adapt. You don't, or you can say adjust, but you never get used to it. You never get used to it.
Because they leave here abruptly. Like,
yes.
I felt like for a long time, if I could have just talked to him that day, the girl that he was with that witnessed the suicide, she witnessed, she tried to save his life. If I could have, she just could have called me to say, your grandson woke up today and said he was going to kill himself. He woke up that day saying he was going to kill himself. I wish that she would have called me, because I would have got on a plane, hopefully, and flew down to Texas to let him know, please, baby, don't do that. Do you know what you're going to leave, the carnage that you're going to leave behind? The carnage of me feeling guilty, feeling like I didn't do enough to save his life. When his mother passed away, I should have took him into my home, but I didn't do it. So I'm beating myself up what I should have, could have done. And I took the blame more than I blamed anybody else. Now, I blame people, don't get me wrong, but I blamed the queen more than I blamed anybody else, because I invested so much into that baby. And he was a young man, although I'm his grandmother, and I will always call him baby.
Yeah.
I invested so much into saving his life. I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I failed. And then you have this, and I don't know how many people is on here, but I'm just an open book. I don't hold back nothing at 7.
No, you don't. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm an open book. But I felt like there's this stigma, religious dogma stigma, that's on suicide. It's taboo. People don't like to talk about it. I lost friends behind it because they didn't know how to deal with the queen. Matter of fact, my husband didn't know how to deal with me, because he felt like if he brought Ajane's name up, it would make me fall apart. Well, so what? But if he didn't bring it up, I was still falling apart, because I felt like, you can't bring his name up. You must not have cared about him, because actually my husband was his step-grandfather.
Okay.
Although he loved him,
right,
as though he was his blood grandchild.
Gotcha.
But he was afraid to bring it up to me. And my husband went out and found a book that somebody recommended to him called The Unspeakable Loss. It's a book explaining how to deal with people that have lost loved ones, whether it's children or whatever loved one that you have lost. After he read that book, he said, Queen, this book really helped me. He said, I recommend that you read it. So after I read the book, it opened up my eyes to an understanding of why people were treating me the way they were treating me in connection with losing my grandson by suicide. Because I had one young lady, and she ain't my friend no more, and I ain't scared to say it. She came up to me like 2 weeks after I lost my grandson.
I was ready for you to bring this up because I seen it. Come on, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. And she said, Queen, the Bible says that when you commit suicide, you go to hell. Now, number one, who says that to a grieving grandmother?
Yeah.
Well, I told her where she could put that Bible, and I haven't talked to that woman since. Now, maybe one day I'll talk to her, but I ain't ready to talk to her. Another friend of mine, a week after Ajane passed, although she says it wasn't a week, but I'm not going to go tit for tat. She told me that if I didn't stop talking about my grandson, I would damage my heart. A week after my grandson died, who the hell else was I supposed to be talking about? I didn't care if my heart stopped because my heart was broken in a million pieces. I did not care if I damaged my heart because I was in the throes of grief, baby.
Right.
A week after he died, and that was like within the week, I had flew down to Texas to take care of business in burying him. And so when I got back to Toledo, I just basically fell apart. And you're going to tell me I'm going to damage my heart? Well, she said she didn't say it a week after, and that's fine. I really don't care when it was said. It shouldn't have been said because it didn't have compassion. So these are the things that people deal with when they lose a loved one by suicide. People sometimes, not all, and there's a very few, that can be insensitive to death, period.
Yes.
To death, period.
Yes.
I mean, they say things like, oh, God loved your loved one more than you did, so that's why they're not here. Well, ain't nobody loving my people more than I do, in my humble opinion. They say other things that are unsensitive to you when you lose a loved one. I've seen it and I've heard it and I've talked to hundreds of people. But what I like about, and I'll go back to the film, what I like about putting out the film was my way of recovering, because I'm not recovered, I'm recovering from the loss of my grandson.
Yeah.
It helped me to rechannel my grief, to get out of my grief in order to try to help somebody else that's struggling with this thing called life. And K. Nicole, baby.
Yes.
There is not a week that goes by, and my husband can attest to this. There's not a week that goes by that I don't hear from somebody from around not just the United States, but the world that have watched that documentary and have told me that they are suicide survivors. They have attempted suicide. They watched the film because it's still in their minds. I had a young lady contact me in December 2019, just this past year.
Yeah.
She told me privately that that day she was going to take her life. Some kind of way, she got a hold to watching the film, A Cry for Help, the Ajane Burt story. She said after she watched it, tears started flowing down her face uncontrollably, and she changed her mind from taking her life. She asked me that day, would I become her grandmother? I said, baby, I sure will. So I didn't hear from the young lady after that conversation in December. Mother's Day week, the young lady contacted me again, and I was so glad because I didn't know if she had changed her mind and took her life after that.
Right.
But she contacted me to tell me happy Mother's Day, that she was still living and she was enjoying her life. So I told my husband, if I don't help nobody else on this planet, I help that one person. And let me tell you this, I didn't make that film to make money. For those that think the Queen got all this pocketbook full of money, I ain't got nothing. I didn't make the film to make money. I made the film to tell my grandson's story because he's not here to tell it.
Right.
And I made the film to help others that are struggling with this thing called life. I ain't never made a film in my life. I didn't know how to produce this bottle of water I got. I didn't know how to produce nothing, but I found a film director. I had already put the film sort of together, but it didn't have the quality to get on any of the entities that I named. I wanted to
but
be
it
on.
looked good. It looks good.
It looked good though, didn't it?
It looked real good.
That young man, his name is Marcus Rios, out of New York, New Jersey area. He put that film together, and you know what he did, Kay? He did not let me view that film before it came out the day up when the public saw it. I saw it with the public.
Oh.
And the reason being, because I think he might have picked up my vibe. I would have looked at the film and I would have said, you need to take that out. Oh, no, take that out. Oh, they saying that? Take that out. And he told me it wouldn't have been a documentary had I started editing the film, because I put out one right before that he watched and it wasn't of quality. And I had edited that film with a previous film director. I had edited. I said, take that out. They lying. Take that out. Take that out. He didn't allow me to take out anything. So when everybody watched it on October the 14th, 2019 is when it came out, happened to have been AJ's birthday, and it wasn't planned that way. It wasn't planned to come out that day. But when it came out on Ajane's birthday, I seen it when everybody else seen it. So I had no control. I had no production control over the film. And I thought the film was authentic. I thought people, for the most part, was telling the truth. There were certain people that really broke it down with the racism that I did not know that my grandson was experiencing from his white German grandfather. I never knew that until I watched the film. So my grandson had been through so much with his mother being an alcoholic and a drug addict, with the man that she was living with, that she had the other 4 kids by. He was her drug provider. He turned her out. And so, because I always say, how can a mother of 5 children take her life? Because our children are the most beloved to us. A mother loves nobody more than she loves her children, because she brought those children into the world. How can you take your life and leave 5 babies behind? I could not understand that, but the pain got to be too much, and it's a quick fix.
Listen, I want to always got somebody that ain't supposed to be in the room. Just, you always got somebody. Just somebody ain't supposed. Sorry. That's why I got control of this.
And I can't see on my end any comments that are being provided. So I always like to tell my audience that after the show, I will go back and I will answer you. But if there's any questions out there,
I have any questions, I'll make sure to mention it. Yep, I'll make sure if there's any questions, I will make sure that we address those. For a moment, I want to pause. I did this last time that I talked about suicide. And again, I definitely want to bring it up because knowledge is powerful. And without knowledge, I believe knowledge as well as experience helps us become better people. And so with that, let me help people who are like, bring out the information. Let me bring it out for you.
Okay.
As Queen Cookie knows, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And the other one I saw, I know you had the World Health Organization, and I saw CDC. This is all CDC information. And they said for all ages, it's the 10th lead. It's just flat out. And that every day, approximately, says 123 Americans die by suicide. Those numbers may have changed because last time I did this was in May. But it says that there is 1 death by suicide in the United States every 12 minutes.
Wow.
Every 12 minutes. If you just think about, everybody who's on here watching, if you just think about it, a lot of us got none but time right now because we're in this pandemic still. Some of us have not went back to work. If you just spend an hour by yourself, just think about how many people are dying in that 1 hour, Now, yes, I know it says the highest rates in the United States right now are among whites, American Indians, and Alaska Natives. But it has shown, record has shown that in the last recent, I want to say 2016, so even now, I know it says 2016, 2018, Black young men have doubled their counterparts of white people. So when people think that this is the white men, yes, white men still have, let me figure out, I know I wrote that down. White men do have the highest rate when it comes to suicide. But there we go. The highest increase in suicide is in males who are 50 years old and older. So a lot of times people think it's young people. Young people are dying by suicide, but males who are grown and have been established or been in this world 50 years are taking their own lives. It does say that suicide is the fourth leading cause of death for adults that are ages 18 to 65. That's the CDC. But also, I want to mention, especially during this time that we're in, suicide rates among elderly are the highest for those who are divorced.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
A lot of people who tend to get divorced or become a widow, you don't choose that. You're left alone. And depending on how old you are when you become a widow,
yes,
your kids are grown.
Yeah. Plus, you have illnesses, you have health concerns.
Yes,
that they want to deal with it. When you deal with one thing, I'm a type 2 diabetic. When I deal with that, that's one thing. Now I'm dealing with some knees that's bothering me. That's 2 issues. Now, if I started adding on 3 and 4 and 5 issues, I would probably get to the point as a senior citizen to say, you know what, I'm out of here. My mother did that. She was on dialysis. And at 78, she decided, I'm tired of taking dialysis. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, do you know what the consequences of not going to your dialysis place where she used to go 3 times a week? Do you know what the consequences of that will be? She was fully aware. I had a psychologist come in and test her mental ability to make sure she was in her right mind to say that. But she had gotten tired of going to dialysis 3 days a week and having that wipe her out. So I can imagine senior citizens are on that list of those that take their lives.
Yeah. And I bring up about the kid part because a lot of times I say, because of my grandparents, I was raised by my grandparents. My mother was close to 40. She was 36 when she had me. Our grandparents were, ooh, Lord Jesus. I'm trying to do the math in my head. My grandparents, I think, were in their early 70s when they became grandparents. I call those real, no offense to anybody who's watching, I call them real grandparents because nowadays people making people grandparents at like 30, 40 years old.
That's some 25-year-old grandparent.
Yeah, you know what? It's sad that you said that. And this ain't no shade. I got a classmate who a grandma. And I'm like, girl, I'm 31 and ain't got no kid. But that's but my grandma was what you call the real grandmas. And because of that, I have respect for elderly people. And I feel like when people get older, we somehow forget about them. And so, as you said, I agree how they can be a part of this list. I'm going to get back to stats in a minute. But something I want to bring up about your documentary that you said, and I think I got with everything you were saying. And you mentioned it earlier. And I was going to ask you, how did you feel when those friends made those comments? But you expressed that. But I like this, what you said, and I'm going to quote it. You told the young lady that was across from you, I don't know if she was a person that you met in counseling, but older white lady towards the end.
Yeah, I met her. She was a leader of the suicide group.
Okay. You said this, and I agree with you. Even though I'm kind of the person that you're talking about. You said that people empathize, but they don't sympathize because they have not went through the same experience. And I was like, oh, I was like, I agree. I agree with the statement. Agree. I haven't went through it, so I do. You're right. I empathize with you, even though I am a person who wanted to do it. But I like that. I like that. If you want to elaborate on that, because I think some people may argue, like, what does she mean? I get what she meant, but maybe you need help.
Yeah. Just like with anything in life, you could, like I had knee replacement surgery. Okay, almost 2 years ago. Okay, nobody can, people can sympathize with that. Oh, Queen, I wish you well and da 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 da. But until you have knee replacement surgery, you can't really feel the pain that I felt. It's the same thing with suicide. You can tell me, like most people, it's cliche to say, I'm praying for you. Most people probably that say that aren't doing that, but it's just cliche to say that. That's what everybody says. I'm praying for you. Whether they praying or not, I'm praying for you. But until you actually go through a suicide death, and like I said earlier, it's different than a death. I lost my sister. She had a brain aneurysm abruptly. Oh, that knocked me out the box.
Yeah.
I thought I would never get over the loss of my only sister. It was just, we were a year and a half apart. So I've gone through the last 24 years without my sister. But when I lost my grandson to suicide, that was a whole different feeling, a whole different death. Number one, it was out of order. You're not supposed to bury your children or your grandchildren. It was out of order. And then number two, I invested so much into for him to take his life, but he wasn't thinking about hurting his grandmother or hurting the other family members. He was only thinking about relieving his pain. I watched a young man on maybe YouTube or wherever he was at. He attempted his life. He jumped off the Golden State Bridge. I don't know if you ever heard that story.
The man of the ripple effect.
Yeah, he survived. Survived. And he said one of the reasons that brought him to that state of mind was nobody asked him asked him how he was doing. Nobody said that they cared for him. Nobody told him that he mattered. And when I heard him say that, I said, oh my gosh, I need to do better in letting people know that I care about them, that I love them. And I try to do that. I will send a text to those that don't like to pick up the phone. Yeah. I'll send a text every now and then to my children and grandchildren and friends to let them know that they matter and that I love them to life. Sometimes I get a response. Sometimes I don't.
Right.
But it's important that people respond to let you know that they heard you. Yes. We all want to feel like we matter to something.
Yes.
We are, and I don't believe these people that say, I don't care what people say and do to me. I don't care.
That's not true.
You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that. You just keep that to yourself. We all want to feel loved. And when we don't feel love, it makes our mind wonder. Like my grandson said in one of his Facebook posts, he said something to the fact, because I think he had a premonition that this is what he was going to do, like 4 months out from him doing it. He said, I don't want nobody at my funeral. I don't want nobody to have words to say about me. I don't want no flowers. I just want to walk with the demons that walked with me. I'm paraphrasing what he said.
That was real. Oh,
that's what he said. And I have that. I think that's even in the film.
Yes, it is.
You will find that in the film.
When I seen that, I wasn't scared, right? I was more like, that was real as you can get to someone. Yeah. I hate to say it, but because we do know the end result would happen, but that was as real as you can get.
Yes.
Like, but at the same time, I felt it because of somebody, and as you described, I'm taking your words. I'm not misconstruing your words. As you talked about, you can kind of see, not that you completely understand why he did it, but you can, like, okay, I see this. Though this shouldn't equal this, I might have saw your process. You talked about how he had rejection issues and how he had abandonment issues. And so you were like, okay, I got where you were heartbroken, right? Given this should have been your end. I ain't losing you there, right?
No.
You don't agree that suicide was his answer, but you're like, but I'm not lost in seeing how he processed to get there. But it was like, people who were in that moment. I mean,
but it was almost like he was giving warning signs.
Oh.
And I was watching the warning signs on Facebook because he would get drunk and he would overdrink. And one day I called him and I said, AJ, do you have to drink on Facebook? Because I was like, it was embarrassing me. All my friends watching you sitting up drinking on Facebook. And he said, Mama, he didn't call me Mama. He said, Grandma, I'm a man. So when he said that, I told my husband, and my husband said, let him alone. You can't keep chastising him because he's a man. But I kept seeing these signs of doing drugs on Facebook. And I'm like, drinking too much. He was giving signs. But what I was doing, Kay, and hopefully this will help others out there.
Yes.
I was sitting back, watching this, waiting for him to improve himself. Because I wanted to go down there and see him, but I wanted him to not be doing that when I go down. I wanted him to come up here and see me, but I didn't want him doing that when he came. So I was sitting back waiting on him to improve his behavior. And once he improved, rather than trying to give more help, although my husband said, he tells me to this day, Queen, you did all you could do. Because I did, and I ain't trying to toot my own horn, but maybe I am. Because if I don't toot it, who gonna toot it?
Right.
But I did the most that I could do, other than take him into our home, because we had just moved when his mother took her life. We had just moved into a senior citizens community. Now, they don't have rules where we can't take children, and I could have took him, but maybe back then I was selfishly thinking that I would cause my neighbors to get upset because they moved here as empty nesters and didn't nobody probably. I would have got upset if my neighbors probably would have moved a teenager in the house next door, and all these boys, teenage boys, would have been hanging around playing boombox music or whatever they do, and pumping and coming into the neighborhood. I probably would have been upset too. So I was trying to be respectful to my neighbors, but then at the same time, my grandson was suffering, and I always beat myself up about just going against the rules, going against the neighbors, and taking him into my home. Now, I've gotten better from 3.5 years ago, but it took a lot of extensive work for me to get there.
I'm gonna beat myself up if I do not say this, because it keeps popping in my head. You keep saying this, and I keep forgetting. And I'm like, listen, Queen Cookie, if I don't say anything else to you, and I know you know this, but I'm gonna say it to you because I think affirmation is good, right?
Yeah.
Not even trying to be OID. You know you're not responsible. I know you. I felt, even watching the documentary, that you felt that you didn't do enough. I felt that. I really did. I did. And I felt it even more talking to you. And so I just want to affirm that one, you have a beautiful spirit. And hold on, somebody talking? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna say what they had to say. You have a beautiful spirit. And I sometimes, and I know people hate to say, and I know this is not disrespectful, I sometimes believe that there's some things, no matter what we do in life, sometimes that we can't change everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes people can do all that they can do, and it sucks. People are going to make their own decisions. And I'm going to take it not so deep. Yeah. You have a girlfriend? Let's go there. You have a girlfriend who keep dating people, and you tell them, you show them receipts, they cheating. You know, nowadays you got social media, you can find that quick. Yeah. And they like, girl, no. You like, you take her, Betty, you can do this. I know somebody might be like, this is so way off topic. You can even take the girl to the room with the man mess with someone else, and she's still like, no, that's his cousin, and they just wrestling.
Yes, yes.
No matter what you can do, it's sad to say there's some people who won't, but I know, and I believe tonight that somebody's watching this who will be changed, not by just Queen Cookie story, but also by Ajane's story. And so I'm not going to tell, I want people to think I'm just dumbing it down like, no, there's nothing you can do. But I don't want you to beat yourself up. That's where I'm getting at. I don't want you to beat yourself up about a decision that your grandson made. Because just like my mom, had I took mine, would it probably feel the same way. And I don't want anybody who's been in your shoes to feel that way. Because let me just say this. Ajane seems like me, meaning he made a choice in his mind, right? You can tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I think there's a thing called mental illness. It's a real thing, right? Yes. But we all have a state of mental health.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes.
I believe some of us have mental illness, bipolar disorder, PTSD, schizophrenia, all of those. They don't all result to suicide, but they can be a downward path to suicide. Yeah. Yes. And some of us are like me, and I believe Ajane, that life circumstances make us think that this is the best option.
Yes.
Am I okay to say that?
Oh, yes.
And so I believe that's just saying we made a decision in our mind that this was the best decision. Was it the best decision? No. But sometimes when you're so in your life circumstances, because you told me, and I wrote this down, you even witnessed and said in January of 1999 of your own life.
Yes.
You were teetering. I took my notes. I took my notes now.
Oh, yes.
That you were teetering. And so you can even understand where life experiences happen.
Yeah, I was teetering, baby. Like I said in the film, I could have went this way or I could have went that way. I decided to fall on the side of life. AJ decided to fall on the side of death.
Yeah.
I know now not to beat myself up, but when I made the film, I was still in the process of beating myself up because the film was made over a year ago.
Okay.
So I was still in that throes of grief where I was beating myself up, shoulda, coulda, wish I could turn back the hand of time. And you know, sometimes I wish I could still turn back the hands of time.
Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't want Aja, as much as I love that young man, as much as I want him back, I do not want him to come back to this planet the way he left, if that makes sense.
Oh, no.
I do not want him to be in mental illness and depression. I do not want him to be into addictions of alcohol and drugs. I do not want him back like that. I would want him back whole.
Yeah.
Whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Some Monet, let me see if I put this up. Let's see if you can see it on your screen. It says when you're in darkness, moments you don't think about how it affects anyone else. It's literally like you're in a dark room all by yourself with, she wrote here, with no light and no sunshine.
Yeah.
And that's real. I wanted, because you mentioned about signs, and so I got some notes here still about signs. What are, somebody may be asking the question, what are the signs to look for? And I think you can agree with some of this, and some, whether you, for yourself, when you were teething, or Ajane, I can even say this for myself. So some of the signs are putting people who are suicidal, thinking about it, tend to put their affairs in order. I think, depending on who we are, some people who, especially who have a lot of stuff, they may really start putting their stuff in order. You be like, oh, you just playing this stuff. No. Be mindful of what stuff they start giving. Not putting down in paper, but then like giving away. Like, you know, somebody who may admire some jewelry or a car, keep an eye out. And that's nothing. Giving away important possessions. They think and they talk about death often. They're anxious and they're agitated. They feel like they're a burden to others, and I feel like that's probably one of the biggest ones. Is a lot of people feel like they're the burden at times. There's a change in the habit of eating and sleeping. They tend to withdraw from their family members and friends. And I think I already said about the sleeping habits. And I know for me, I truly felt that I was a burden. I think that was the number one thing about me. I felt like I was a burden to my family. Let's say that. And when I say family, I was a burden to my mother and my father. That's who I thought I was a burden to. If I could share, I'm not sure. Have I ever shared my story with you? I'm not even.
I don't think you did. I don't know if you. I know we shared stories at the training seminar, but I don't remember you going into depth about your story.
Look here, we're not gonna spend long, so because it's about you tonight. So I've been good, but basically, I was born into a relationship because they weren't married. You know, a situationship. That's what the young
situation. An entanglement.
Yes, entanglement, exactly. And that's actually true, though. My dad was legally married to my siblings' mother. My mom and them dated some years, and of course, I was born. And before I was born, my mom found out she was pregnant, and when my mom found out she was pregnant, she tells me she went to the bar and like got drunk. Right? I don't know how far along she was pregnant, but enough to the point where I always bring up, like, I could have had alcohol poison. Like they told you were pregnant. It wasn't like you got drunk and then you found you were pregnant and you went and got drunk. So she did that. That was the first thing. And then I was told that my father didn't show up to my when I was born in the hospital, all that situation. Or no, either he came and he didn't sign it, something along those lines. Let's scratch that part. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. I was 6 years old. My dad called and said, talk to my mother, and he called, and he then asked to speak to me. And he tells my mother, talk to my mom, slow it down. Talk to my mom. Then he asked to speak to me, in which, if my mom, I tell people this all the time because people love to play the antagonist. If my mom knew what he was going to say, she would have never gave him the phone. Okay, because my mom had grew to love being a mother of another daughter. He said, I don't see you or your mom anymore, and I'm leaving for a white woman. And so I'm 6 years old, and I'm young. I mean, you've had grandchildren. You know what it's like to be 6 years old, and you innocent. You don't even know nothing about nothing.
Right. Right.
So for 7 years, I dealt with looking at interracial relationships with such hate and just anger. And then my grandfather, who died at 12 years old, that was the father I knew. He raised me up till I was 12 years old with the help of my mother and my grandmother. While at the same time, before he died, my mother told me, again, she told me verbally, she wished she never had me. So here I have my daddy tell me at 6 over the phone, I don't see you or your mom anymore. People always focus on the mom part. They weren't dating. Then I have my mom years later say, I wish I never had you. Then my granddad dies. He was my covering. He literally protected me from anything my mom would say crazy or even whoopings. I didn't get a lot of whoopings as a kid until my granddad died at 12. Then my mama started this, but not abusive. You know what I'm saying? She was able to. She had free reign to do what she wanted with her own child. And so then I felt like, why? I was like, what's the point of living when the people who brought you in this world didn't want you? Let me just cover up with that. When people ask why, I didn't want to live because I didn't actually brought in this world. So people who were in this world didn't want me. So what was the point of me staying? No matter how many people to this day tell me, Kiki, you're doing a good job. I'm proud of you. It's still in the back of my mind, still hurts because I have not found that relationship with my father just yet. The one that I, aspire. And it's not these unexpected expectations. It's something what a father should be, like a protector, a lover, all of that. I haven't really got all of that. And my mother's relationship and I have grown. We're just too much alike, And so people may say, oh, that's not a good enough reason to die. When you find value in affirmation and who you are. I said that earlier.
Yeah.
If you don't get affirmed by the people who created you, you don't know who your identity is. And I know we talked about this earlier off air about different religious beliefs. And for me, if I didn't find who I was within my mom and dad, then yeah, I was gonna find myself in God. But for me, the first person I'm meeting though is my parents. And my parents didn't want me. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I struggled for a long time because a lot of people are like, you're doing such a good job, you're this, you're that. Yeah, but I go home to parents who care about that.
So, yeah, and you're not the only one, you're not the only story that I've heard like that.
Yeah.
But what I applaud you in is that you are here and that at least you had your grandparents to raise you in the right direction. So, when you look back over that and people are telling you you're doing a good job, believe them because you are.
Listen, I try to be humble. I try to listen. My car even says it. My car is a reminder to me. It says humble fool. It's a reminder me to not get big headed, but at the same time, understand, it takes me a while to be proud of myself. It really does.
It takes all of us. All of us struggle sometimes. Even at 71, my age, sometimes I still struggle. And I have one of the most wonderful husbands that you ever want to meet. But he can't meet all of my needs. Sometimes I have these inward struggles that sometimes I might not even share with him because, I don't want him to think, because when I lost AJ, I came real close back from 1999. I came very close to taking my life because I needed to go on the other side, wherever that side was, to let Ajane know, baby, why did you do that? Your grandmother loved you. And I wanted to leave here. And so that's when my husband said, you need to go get you some help because he wasn't able to fix that for me.
You know what? Let's help somebody else because I know we talked about this in our training. And that was people believe. So let's help the people who are watching us. I know I don't want this to be entertaining for people, but I also want people, not all people like, oh, Queen Cookie, she seems like a great person, full of life, which she is. But we also want you to be encouraged by her story. And so something we heard, I don't know if you recall this, but the question was, if I tell somebody or if I ask someone if they're thinking about suicide, that I'm planting the thought of suicide in their mind. And we know, if you recall, that is false. Because someone who is thinking about suicide, when you say that, they've already been thinking about it. You're not planting.
Oh, yeah, right. Because I say it, don't make it come to pass.
Right.
With somebody else.
And people think that if you ask someone about it, that you're planting that thought. And you're not planting that thought.
They already
they already thinking about it. It's not like we've learned this in the training. If you ask somebody about it, you're more likely about to get some of the truth about their story or what they're experiencing, rather than them if you don't ask that question, because we've learned and trained.
Right, because I say it to inspire somebody not to do it. I don't say that to plant a seed to make them feel like, oh, if Queen Cookie's saying that, well, I might as well go out and take my life. No, that ain't why Queen Cookie is saying that. Queen Cookie is letting you know that she's human. She thinks like a lot of other people. Just because I do this, because I'm a jack of all trades, a master of few, that don't mean I don't have struggles, because I have struggles too. I've thought about in my life. I've thought about I've had low self-esteem. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was fat. I thought this and thought that. But I tell you what, the older you get, a lot of those thoughts leave, because you just so glad that you woke up this morning, fat, ugly, whatever. You just glad you woke up this morning. So I'm just happy about that. So, you know, what I say shouldn't plant a seed in somebody else to make them go forward with something that they probably should seek help for.
You know what? Let's go there too. Well, hold on, before we go there, because I'm gonna go back to help, because you said I want to get to that part, because you admit to it earlier about going to counseling, and we want to touch on that. I just want to make sure people understand that there is a way that we learn. I think the way we learn in November, some people may not like practical ways of learning something, but I'm gonna be honest, the way we left that training, if y'all are asking, this is a small plug, I'm gonna plug it again at the end. If you stay to the end of the show, for those who are watching here in the local area, the assist training is what we took. And I don't think you know this. I haven't made this a social media thing, but I have actually joined the Ohio chapter, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention chapter. So I actually am on the board, and I'm a board member.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I haven't gone that far. I have walked in the walks, and I have been to some of the volunteer meetings. Matter of fact, they contacted me about a week ago wanting me to do some volunteer things. I think along the lines of taking calls of those that might be thinking about taking their lives. So I'm just waiting on them to get back to me as to what my assignment's going to be. But I haven't gotten that far. But if I was your age, I probably would get more involved with a lot more stuff. But, you know, I'm sort of like, I'm doing what I can, and I'm letting them speak for me. But I'm sort of like in the mode of passing the torch.
Listen, your voice matters, and you know your voice matters. But I only got it based on, I started having these events in September, where I'm going to keep it short. So this will be my third year that I've been doing something in September for National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. It's a long word, guys. And so I've been just basically, I've been hosting these, and I asked the Mental Health Board and AFSP to come in. And over time, I was like, listen, I think the only way my people are going to come, kind of how I said last night and the night before, the only way sometimes we're going to get our people to be a part of this conversation is when we get people that look like you and I to have this conversation.
Yes.
So Jane, if you recall, she was the one who was the more experienced instructor. She and I have met, and she was like, you know, are you thinking about being more involved with AFSP? And I said, yes, let me know. And I was honest, and I told her, I don't even know what the board even looked like. I just said it just needs some color in it, and boom, you got me. So, so I'm a part of this, and I am bringing assist to Lorain County. My county is going to get this training. Actually, I think I can say this, and hopefully, I can say this. They're gonna get it for free.
Oh, good.
They're gonna go get it for free. I will have
you need it. You are needed. You are needed, because we're living in a climate now where I do believe, and I've read somewhere recently, that suicides are on the uptick because people are losing hope. They're losing hope in this government. They're losing hope in themselves. They're just losing hope. And when you lose hope, you don't have anything else left when you lose hope.
No, especially this pandemic.
Oh, this pandemic. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and you know, and I ain't going to even go there because some don't believe it's a hoax or whatever. But whatever it is, people are dying.
Yeah. So. I know people don't believe, but you know what? I know we don't want to go into that long, but I didn't believe at first. But, and I do believe there's some far-fetched numbers. I'm not going to even lie about that. I'm going to be honest. I do believe I don't believe all the numbers are real. But I believe there's a beauty in this pandemic. Some people may not see that. I understand those who've lost someone, you don't see the beauty in it. but it causes us to stop and think and recalibrate. But this time, yes, you're right. I've been on some phone calls with like Suicide Coalition and all this other stuff, and they definitely say that suicide is on the rise. And they definitely keep saying, just watch until this thing is over with or close. We don't know what that is, but they keep saying, watch. And I don't think they're lying to us. I believe more than people want to admit, them numbers going to go up high. And if we don't do what we've done, which is called invest your time into learning more about how to save another life. And it's not even about saving many lives. You said
because you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that we can't save the world because, you're one person, I'm one person, but we can save who we can save, hopefully, in our little portion of the world. If you do a little bit, I do a little bit, there's people out there doing a little bit, maybe we can save somebody, but we can't save the world. I wish I had the power in my hands to do that, but I don't.
Listen, let's talk about that training real quick. Because let me just tease it. Let's tease it together. Okay. When we talk about this training, and I'm going to say what was good for me. As a person who contemplates suicide, who still struggles with it, the one thing that I took away from that training is the question is, do you have a plan?
Repeat that.
The question in the beginning they asked us, like when we're asking people about, they said the first question was, are you thinking about suicide? Don't ask, are you thinking about harming yourself? Because that person don't think about that's harming themselves.
Right.
They should ask the question, are you thinking about suicide? Now, of course, I've heard that. But the question that got to me was, do you have a plan? Because I think if I was asked that question when I was 13, 18 years old, I would have given them an answer and it might have stopped me. I'm here. I'm here. Which I don't know how, but thanks to be God, right? But I think that question would have saved me. Like, saved me longer. Like, I wouldn't have had to struggle with 13, 18. If somebody would ask me that age at 13 years old, I think that would have nipped it. For me, I can't talk about everybody. For me, that one thing got me in class. I'm still talking about to this day about how that one question, because a lot of people don't have plans.
Right.
Their mind is at war. They don't actually physically have a plan of how they're going to.
I think some of them just do it spontaneously. Now, some, with my grandson, I think he thought about that for 13 years. And if it wasn't for me in his life, I kept him living. Because he was incarcerated for 3.5 years right before he took his life. And he had only been out. He got out in 2014. And less than 3 years, he had taken his life. And he had gotten a DUI like 2 days before he took his life. And when he got that DUI, I do believe that he thought about, he was on parole. Because, sometimes the justice system keeps these young Black men on parole for almost their entire life. You can't hardly even breathe without getting picked up about something, sent back to prison. So when he got that DUI, his thoughts was, I cannot do prison again because they let him out like 1.5 years early. So he had that, he was going to go back and serve that 1.5 more years. Plus they probably were going to add to that. And some of the things that some of his cellmates have talked to me about since he took his life was that, Mrs. Belcher, you don't want to know what your grandson went through in prison. I can't imagine. I have some thoughts of what he went through, but whatever it was, he did not want to face prison time. So that was a contributing factor, along with all the other things that he was going through, that brought him to the point of taking his life on February the 18th.
And this time, earlier today when I was watching the documentary, I realized that Ajanay is only 2 years younger than me. He's only, and his time of death is literally 3 days before my birthday. I was like, and when I bring that up to say this, he could very well be me or even the next young person that's watching this. And a lot of young people, we don't know always how to process, and that's the word I love to use. We don't know how to process our emotions. But I think because this is the last night I can repeat this, and you've probably heard me say this more than once, and you've said it too in your lifetime. What happens in our house stays in our house has probably been the worst quotes We have heard in our lives. We have embraced that quote. It is the worst thing ever. What happens in our house stays in our house, affects us, is a detriment to our lives because, and I said, I'm going to bring this all together. When you keep something in the house, especially a house that may not be able to help you, is not doing any good to you. And you can't not, and I have to throw this in there, you can't get mad for people who live in your household who don't know what you need to know.
Oh, right.
Because we only know what we know.
Right.
And so that's what we gotta go out. That's why we need to tell people how we feel about things.
Right. Because I believe, and I've read this somewhere, that young people up until about the age of 28 to 30, your brains haven't formed completely yet. So you're not thinking rational. You're not thinking rational below 30 years old a lot of times. So I think when these things pop up in your life, and plus too, I understand in my own life that the baby boomer generation, which is my generation, we gave our children a lot more than what we had. Because I came up struggling. I came up very poor, one of 8 children. And so we learned how to survive. I come from a hustling generation, as I call it. If I had to go out and sell pop bottles to get food, I did it. If I had to go rake somebody's yard, I did it. But we took the struggle away from our children. The generation under us, we took a lot of their struggles away. Your generation and below, struggles were taken away for the most part. So when a struggle comes along, you don't know how to deal with it. Because number one, your brain hasn't formed to think rationally. And we have taken struggles away from our children because we wanted life to be better for them than we had it. So when something comes down the pike that you can't figure out and understand because your brain ain't formed, a lot of times they go to them dark thoughts, those dark thoughts. So that's my analogy. It's not 100% of what it is, but it's just some of it.
Yeah. Somebody says sis is dropping gems. I'm snapping my fingers. But snap on.
Yes, snap, baby, snap.
Yes, I feel it. Listen, I want to, and I've done this most of the nights, most of these past nights. I want you to encourage someone who is watching you, Queen Cookie. Someone who's looking at you who was in a similar situation. I can't say the same because we all know. Hi, sir.
Oh, that's my husband behind me.
We all know that people relate to people who are in similar situations. So what would you say to someone who is in a similar situation of yours, who is maybe still processing the grieving loss of their loved one? What would you say to them to encourage them to move forward in life? And when I say move forward, you get what I'm saying, not forget about them, but, go on with life in the sense of, as you say, adjust to their life, their new normal.
I would like to let people know out there that might be struggling with this thing called life, that there is a second chance for you. And that second chance is called tomorrow. It's called tomorrow. If you can just get through today, because tomorrow's not promised. Yesterday is gone. You can't change what happened then. But if you can just get through one day, today, I do believe that you will get a second chance called tomorrow. And it might seem like what you're going through is a terrible thing on today. And it might be, but it's just a temporary problem. And don't, for God's sakes, give it a permanent solution. Don't give it a permanent solution, because what you're going through today, it might ease up on tomorrow after you get a good night's sleep or whatever. But that's what I would encourage everybody out there to do. Just remember that you get a second chance, and it's called tomorrow.
Hey, somebody said that's a book. And somebody said it's a whole sermon. You just sit down. A book and a sermon. Look here. You talk about people, you didn't make the money, you didn't make the film for money, which you know that, but you can make a book and profit over that. I'm going to just bless you with that. And you can just give me $1 when you make that book. And then
what I would also like to say, I don't know whether you're going to close it out when you decide to close. I would like to give out the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number.
Before we end, I'm definitely going to give you that chance to do that.
Okay.
So let's talk about this because we don't want to leave out of here without people thinking, well, we just had a great conversation. We just, I asked if anybody had any questions, but they haven't gave me any questions just yet. Counseling. I know we talked about taboos as far as spiritual, and this is let's just call it what it is. Not just in the spiritual aspect, but taboo in our culture as Blacks. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We don't go to counseling, and I said this numerous times, and I'm not gonna say it long. Is that we have made the barbershop and the hairdresser and the bar stool and all those other places our sanctuary or our haven house, right? But they can't give us counseling.
They're not professionals.
No, and they're gonna tell you, and they're gonna tell your business. Go and seek a counselor who can listen and give you unbiased instruction. Would you agree with that?
Yes, because normally we tend to talk to people that are going to agree with us. We don't normally go outside that realm of people that's going to tell us the real. And that's what a counselor will do, because they're not pressed up against the situation. They don't know you really personally. They just know what you're telling them. And so they're not going to take sides with this one or that one. What my counselor has been doing for me, he tells me, what do I think I should do about it? He tries to let me figure it out for myself. And then after I come up with some solutions, then he might add to it.
Yes.
But it makes me critically think. So that's where counseling comes in as far as I'm concerned. Because like I said earlier, everything in life we can't fix by ourselves. We're not professionals. Okay. And we can't keep telling the same people the same thing all of the time, because eventually, like you and me, you hear a person say the same thing, they do the same thing over and over and over and over again, and expect different results. They call that insanity. And sometimes it's tired of talking to people that when you suggest to them, I think you should, have you ever taken a look at this or that? And then the next week they call you telling you the same thing. I'm like, didn't you hear what I said last week?
Right.
And prior to that, and a year ago, you're talking about the same thing. So that's where a counselor can get you to see things that you can't see, or your close friends can't see, because your close friends don't want to piss you off by saying the wrong thing, because you might kick them to the curb.
Right. I went to counseling the start of March 2019. And I say, the reason why I said culturally, let's set us free too, is because I recall, for those who knew and just meeting me, hopefully people don't think I'm talking too much. I'm hosting, but I'm engaging with you.
You cool.
December 2019. My friends and I went to the Single Mixer. Woke up that morning at the hotel, and my one friend said, "Hey, Kiki, I think you need to go see a counselor." And I was like, no. And then I was like, okay, maybe yeah. Like it felt like I was like, I had bipolar. Oh, I shouldn't say that, because I said that jokingly. I tell people we can't joke about that. I said that about a split personality. I was like, I really was like, no, I don't need to go to counseling. Yeah, I do. And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, because I always describe it as both my culture playing a mind game on me, because culturally we're taught we don't go to counseling. I mean, to be honest, in my family, like my immediate family, my grandma, granddad, my mother, and my sister, I don't know none of them to go to counseling or had counseling.
What we tend to do is sweep things under the table. And see, in my generation, I was taught you don't air your dirty laundry. And to me, that's how addictions flourish.
Come on.
That's how sexual abuse.
Yes.
Because we're told to keep your mouth shut. You don't tell family business. So that sets up sexual abuse, because you can't tell it. And that sets up addictions, drug addictions, alcoholism. You can't tell it. You don't tell stuff outside this family. That's what keeps our culture sick.
Yes.
It keeps us sick. And I have been criticized about telling the family story of my grandson. I have been criticized not only from people outside of my family, but people within my family. How can you tell that? That's supposed to stay in the family. Talking about that. No, I'm not going to do it because I'm at an age now. If I don't speak up, when am I going to speak up? Because I don't know when my doorbell going to ring to leave this planet, because I'm 71 years young. So if anybody want to know anything about the Queen, don't ask nobody. Come straight to the Queen.
Come on,
I'm
Queen.
going to tell you exactly my life, whether it's good, bad, or indifference, because I got things in my life that I'm ashamed of. If I had it to do all over again, I would take a different path. But then sometimes I say, I don't know if I would take a different path, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Even when it comes to suicide, I don't really know if I can answer that question, even when it comes to my grandson. Would I have taken a different path, which would have probably caused him to take a different path, with taking his life? I don't know, because had he not taken his life, and I wish he wouldn't have, I don't know who would have heard this story. Because I used to tell my grandson when he was incarcerated, I used to say, AJ, when you get out of prison, I can see you on world stages being a motivational speaker, because you have a story to tell about your upbringing, about the drugs and alcohol that you watch your mother do, and her baby's father provided her with all the hurts and pains. You can help thousands of people. Kay Nicole, little did I know when I told him that, probably 5 years ago, that he is on stage right now.
Yeah.
He's speaking to thousands. He's speaking to more people than I thought he would ever speak to through this film, because he wouldn't have probably been able to travel across seas to tell his story. But the film is across seas.
Yeah.
And people are hearing it, and he's on stage. And I told him I would be on the front row. And I am on the front row.
Yes.
Of my grandson's story. It's not about the Queen. It's not about his father. It's not about his people that's in Texas. It's not about this one and that one. It's about Ajahnay.
Yeah.
About Ajahnay. And he's telling his story, and he's hopefully helping thousands of people.
Man, his story is so real. Like, I'm glad that you didn't see the movie before it came out, because the director that you had showed true transparency of his life. Like, he was real. Listen, I don't know why this part comes to my mind right now, but it does, because he was so pissed off at his sister, who was in San Antonio where he lived at. But it was like, because, sometimes in movies, you don't always get to relate, or you don't always get to, like, understand. But in that moment, you could feel his anger, his reason of being upset. Like, you're my sister. I haven't seen you. You had the nerve to come celebrate your birthday in my city, and you don't call me?
Uh-huh.
I was like, ooh, I felt that. I mean, I got some siblings that I would have.
And she was probably one of the most honest ones in the film, because she said she didn't want to be bothered with him. She cut him loose because, of this, that, and the other. I think she was probably one of the most honest in the film.
I did appreciate it, because she definitely says, I was selfish. And you can't deny that transparency. She was like, I was selfish. But the also thing is, there was such a hope she had that he would still be here, because at the end you see her, I think it was like within her last few seconds of her spiel, she said like yes, we as a family, he was looking for a family, he was looking for us, but she said that's my train of thought. She had hope that he would still be here. She didn't. I feel like she almost felt like that could have been an option for him, but she had hope. And now her hope was diminished because that wasn't the case. And if there's anything I could take from that point, is that yes, hope is great. Sometimes, as you've already mentioned to us, we got to be about action as well. You said you were looking at your grandson's Facebook post. Yeah, it's okay, because you were at that point. He probably didn't feel judgmental towards you because you were just sitting. You hadn't said anything. You were watching. And sometimes we can only watch for so long. If that's the best thing I can say, you can only watch for so long to anybody. And I say that being because there was this whole thing going on social media last year where people kept saying, pray for your strong friends, or watch out for your strong friends. And I began to say, no, watch out for your friends, period. Your strong ones, your weak ones,
right?
Everybody, because we all carry sometimes what we call a mask. I know we wear masks now.
Oh, most definitely.
Because of the pandemic. But listen, we ain't wearing that. Where is that?
People used to ask me, how are you doing, Queen? And I would put on this mask. Oh, I'm fine. When I was hurting inside, but I didn't want to appear weak to people because everybody looked at me like I was a strong individual. I didn't want to appear weak. So I would tell people, oh, I'm fine, when I was like burning up inside. And we do, like you had that mask out, we do wear masks.
And now we really covering, because now we're covering the mouth. So the only thing you can tell is eyes, and you know his eyes are deceitful.
Oh, most definitely.
Deceitful. Cool. Queen Cookie, there is a question on here. It says, do you think it is normal that every single human being at some point feels suicidal? Do you think it's normal?
Do I think that's normal? I don't know if I would use the word normal. I don't know if there's another word in place of normal, but I do feel like as human beings and with the things that we go through on a daily basis, you know, with hurts and pains and ups and downs, at some point, I do believe most people, it have run across their minds. It might not have stayed in there too long, but it has crossed their mind and they haven't acted on it. Okay, so I don't know whether it's the word would be normal. I can't come up with a word, but I know with me, I have thought about it. It's crossed my mind. So whether that's normal or not, I don't know. You know, I don't know what normalcy is in life, because your normal might be different than my normal. And who's to say what's normal? You know what I'm saying? What's normal and what's not normal?
I wish I was wearing my shirt today. I got another shirt. This shirt you'll get. This shirt you want. Okay. It says unknown is greater than routine. And it was a pandemic shirt because I believe that the unknown, like our future of our lives, I believe has to be greater than the routine that we've been living. Because a lot of us, we needed the pandemic to shift up some things. And I believe, but people took that phrase I made out of context for their own life. That the unknown is greater than what routine? It could be a routine of the mundane day-to-day of thinking, right? But there's great. I believe the unknown can be greater than that of what we used to doing, and that can even be encouragement to the people here. Just because you might have been in a sunken place, literally, for so long, doesn't mean you have to stay there. There is a beautiful light on. Not, and I will say the end of the road. That sometimes seems far-fetched. There is a beautiful light when you sometimes just open your eyes, when you just look for it. And I'll just say this. I don't want to tangent on this, but it is so easy in this world to find negative. I've always said, this is my quote of my own. It is so easy to find a negative that you have to choose to find a positive.
You got that.
You deliberately have to choose to find a positive in your life. You do.
You do. Because everywhere you turn right now, there's an argument over here about this. There's an argument about that. There's an argument about that. And it seems like it's all negative. And like I use the analogy, and I know you've probably heard it, 10 people can tell you, Queen, ooh, I sure like that scarf you wearing today. One person will come up and say, ooh, I don't like that scarf. I'm going to think about that one person all day long that they didn't like my scarf. So we have to really find and concentrate on finding and staying positive, whether it's reading something positive, pulling away from the media, because, you know, the media ain't got nothing positive for the most part. They usually start out with 20 negative stories, and sometimes at the end of a news broadcast, they'll have one heartwarming story. Well, you so full of your blood pressure that went up, the one story, you can't even probably remember that. You remembering that there's 2 hurricanes on the way to America. You remembering that the pandemic is killing over 170,000 people. I can't tell you what that one positive story was, because they inundated you with 15 minutes, 25 minutes of negativity. So sometimes you got to turn off the media and go. Sometimes I go out here to, I call it our stress-free zone. We have an enclosed porch out here, and I have signs up there that says stress-free zone. You have entered. And I go in there and I sit there, and if I don't do nothing but look out the window at the birds tweeting and look at the beautiful trees and the sunshine, I have to do that to pull myself away from negativity, because too much negativity can affect your health.
Yes.
It can affect your health.
It can. And people don't think so, but it really does. You will start eating it out. You will start eating more, drinking more, smoking, alcohol. You can do a lot. You, as you mentioned, and I didn't mention this earlier, you said listen, I'm saying it's being funny though, but I think you laugh with me. You said you learned a new word about Ajane you didn't never know when he was in the foster homes. You said this word, and I said, what's this word that she never knew about? And it was a word, cutter. And I was like, she never knew that word, but that might just be a different generational thing. And sometimes, I'm gonna let you explain it, because I know for those who don't know, explain how you learn what cutting actually does for a person. I want you to explain to the people who don't know.
Yeah, because I never knew that until he went into foster care, and one of his foster care parents, which he should have never been in foster care when he had all of these family members, but one of the foster care people told me that he was cutting, and I'm like, cutting what? And so she said he was cutting his wrist. He was cutting from his wrist all the way up his arm. I'm like, what is he doing that for? Well, I found out later that usually young people will do that. They're cutting away the inner pain that they have. They're not trying to really harm themselves, but I guess to try to cut that pain that's so deep within their souls,
they're
get rid of it. And that's the only way. Like I say, young people's brains aren't formed yet. And at 12, 13, 14, his for sure wasn't formed. That's what he was trying to do. Cut away the pain of losing his mother, cut away the pain of watching her life, growing up with her, cutting away the pain of abandonment and rejection. He was cutting away the pain.
Yeah, very so. And I learned that because I've learned that from friends. I mean, I was like, I'm nosy. I'm sorry. I look at rings on male and females, make sure I know if you're a guy, I look at your ring because I don't know if you're married and don't come talk to me. Okay. But I look at female rings because I admire them. Right. But I look at people, and so I noticed, and I had some friends who told me that they used to cut. And it doesn't scare me. I've learned people now who wear cutters who still have that cut marks on them. It's a testimony to who they used to be, and it's a reminder to them. Here's my tattoo right here. It's symbolic for suicide. Most people know about the semicolon. Okay. There's a thing called a semicolon project, and it basically says that you're the author of your life. Instead of ending it with a period, you decided to continue on. And that's great. I like that. So I got it here, one, because this is my smallest tattoo, and I was trying to be subtle with my tattoos. As you see, I'm all over the place. But
wait, what side is it on over here?
I see you. And you got to
see that. I'm a collector of ankhs. It's the cross that means everlasting life. It's an African cross. And I had Ajane's name tattooed down.
Oh. And you got Queen Cookie on this side
over my heart. It's over my heart. And then after I got that one, first tattoo, I'm 63 years old going to get a tattoo. You ever heard anything like that? And then it hurt me bad, but it didn't hurt me bad enough where I couldn't go back and get another one.
Right.
And that one says Queen Cookie. And see how big that is?
Yeah.
But I was able to bear that pain because I had bore that pain first.
Hey, I tell people all the time, go hard or go home. But that's my theory. But with this, this tattoo is a reminder to me, just like the cutting is for some people, the tattoo is a reminder for me to keep going. I know people look at me now and they may say, you're still living. And I just want to help people understand this. Like, again, this is not about me, but I do want people to understand that people who you may know who have contemplated suicide, attempted suicide, I believe it's just like a spirit of addiction. And people can disagree with me if they want to or not. And this is what I mean. I'm going to say this slowly. Just because you have become sober-minded with drugs and sober-minded with alcohol and maybe sober-minded where your mind's not at war about suicide thoughts and attempts, does not mean that years later, it can take one thing. Mm-hmm. One thing can take you back to that very moment. And that one thing can take you that very moment and make you actually commit to that thing.
Most definitely, because my husband, who came in the picture earlier, he is a recovering compulsive gambler. He has not placed a bet since 1986, which will be 34 years.
Wow.
October the 7th. Now, if he puts himself in the wrong situations with his addiction, because he's recovering, I like to say he's recovered, but he says recovering, and I'll go with that. But he could put himself in the wrong condition and situation that could potentially cause him to place another bet.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, try to steer ourselves away. And he still, after 34 years, goes to support groups to help others that are walking in that door hurting and in pain, to be of help to them.
Yeah.
So, in being an advocate, suicide prevention advocate, that's what I feel like I am trying to accomplish as my mission of love. That's what I call it, a mission of love, to help others who are struggling with this thing called life.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I mean, transparency is what people need, and I want people to let us know. You can't see it yet, but since it's my last night, I don't do this whole "hey, I want hearts" and all of that. But I do want to know. Let Queen Cookie and I know if you appreciated the time we've been yet this far. Let us know. I know you made mention in words, but let us know in hearts and likes and all the smiles and all those stuff that you appreciate the time that you've had yet with us far. If before we get there, Queen Cookie's going to share with us how you can connect with her. I actually, if we could do this, and now this might be crazy for me to ask, but since you are a comedian, okay, I see. There's some hearts. There's some hearts. Great. Is there a way we can end this entire week with a few good jokes? Like, I mean,
well,
you told me that
you probably don't know about the Queen. When I go into my comedy routines, because for those that know me, know that I'm a stand-up comedian, have been since January 2013. I am a raw comedian.
Hey, well,
and I like to tell dirty, nasty, stanky jokes.
Look here. I think that people can appreciate something raunchy. Let me tell you why. It's Saturday. We stuck in this pandemic. Yes, people are watching us, and I don't want people to think I'm not taking the serious of the subject matter serious. I am, but sometimes laughter is the medicine.
Oh, most definitely.
And so, listen, I can jokingly say this to you: be raunchy, so I can go to the altar tomorrow at church and pray. Just give me for the next. I don't
know. Kay, I like spicy words. Now I like spicy, juicy words. And sometimes these Facebook church folks can't handle that. But I'm gonna tell you, I have more church Facebook friends coming to my comedy shows on the down low than I have anybody coming, because they try to act like they don't cuss, but I be cussing with them on the down low.
Look here.
I do have a little joke.
Come on.
I'm gonna try this out on stage next time I'm up there.
Okay.
During this pandemic, I was angry as hell because I couldn't go nowhere. All the comedy shows have shut down. I couldn't get on stage and tell my little jokes. I was angry as hell, walking around here barking and carrying on. Couldn't go out without mask. And matter of fact, I had on a garbage bag one day when I went to the store. I put 2 garbage bags on, one on the top, one coming up from the bottom. I had on goggles, I had on a mask, I had on a hat, I had on a hoodie, and that's how I went out to the store. And so when I got back home, I came back home fussing and cussing and carrying on. I'm like, these people are all up in the way in the store, because my husband had sent me to the store to pick up a can of peanuts. So I walk up into the grocery store. I'm getting ready to go down the aisle where the peanuts are. And on that aisle, you got your chips, you got your pretzels, you got all your junk food, salty snacks. And I'm like, there must have been 15 people in that damn aisle. And I'm like, how am I going to clear these motherfuckers out of here? See, there you go. I always say it's not the Queen, it's menopause talking. So I'm not held responsible for any words that come out of my mouth. So I get to that chip aisle just trying to get my nuts. And I'm like, all these people, about 20 people in the aisle, this is what the Queen did. You should have seen people running. The people in the wheelchairs got up and jumped out the wheelchairs and went to running. All the people went to running in the aisle. I got my damn nuts and I left that store.
Look here. People laughing with you, baby. They laughing with you. You might see, but they laughing with you.
And I got another one too. My husband, when I came home from that store, I'm just complaining. All them people was in the aisle, but I told him, I said, I cleared out that damn aisle. And I'm angry as hell coming up in this house. And my husband looked at me and said, come over here and give me some of that angry coochie. That's that kind of coochie that be snapping and popping and crackling and fighting and scratching and carrying on. He said that was the best coochie he ever had. I use coochie, but you know I used the P word.
Right. Look, I appreciate it, yo. I appreciate it. Some people just jumping on like, what did they just miss? Listen, let me know.
Sometimes you got to end on a happy note when you're talking about suicide. Because like I tell people, if it wasn't for me being a stand-up comic when I went through that in 2017, I don't know if I would have gotten through it, because 3 months after my grandson died, I had already booked an engagement at the Apollo Theater in New York City.
Wow.
The world famous Apollo Theater. I had an engagement already booked when he took his life. And I'm like, how am I going to get up on that stage and perform for these people at the Apollo? Because the Apollo audience is difficult. If you're not good, they be like off the stage. But I got up there and I was able to put my grief on hold. And I still say to this day that my grandson was with me on that stage because I got, for the first time ever performing at the Apollo Theater, a standing ovation.
Oh, wow.
A standing ovation. And like I said, the Apollo crowd in New York City, Harlem, New York, is a hard crowd. If you're not good, they ain't going to laugh and they're going to boo you off that stage.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then, so my grandson was with me and his spirit is still with me because I feel his presence from time to time when I go through what I go through on a daily basis. So, and I so appreciate you, Kay Nicole, for having me come on your show and talk about suicide, because that's a tough subject to talk about. People don't want to talk about that.
Listen, I get excited about talking about it, but I always remind myself, I have to remind myself how hard it is to still talk about it. Like, there was parts where you were telling your story about Janae, and I'm like, yep, you're not gonna cry. Like, it's okay to cry. I don't want people to think I wasn't scared to cry in front of y'all. I don't mind crying. I will post a picture of me crying. I'm that big of a crybaby. But it takes me back sometimes, you know. No matter how much what people say about, proud of you, I always have to remind myself, like, you did it. You're still here, because it very well can be, I could very well, I'm not saying it for sympathy. I know myself. Like I said earlier, I know I'm supposed to get my license for my CCW. I took the class. I know myself. I know myself enough to know that I'm not out the clear. Let me just say that. I am not out the clear where I feel like I need to go beyond 7 years without thinking about suicide, because that was the longest I've been out with thinking about it, from 18 to 25. That was the longest time I went without thinking about it. But here we are, 7 years, 5 years, in a year. So
I'm proud of you, girl. I'm proud of you. And you just keep taking it one day at a time, and don't let those demons win.
Yes, ma'am.
They constantly want to talk in your ear and with that negativity, and if I was you, there's a better place. But no, you are needed on this earth, and I'm proud that you're still here, and keep doing what you have to do to stay here. Yes,
ma'am. I appreciate it. Well, I want you to let the people know how they can find you, connect with you. Appreciate it, Stephanie. She said, bless you, sis. We're here for you. I am. You got this. Don't forget about tomorrow. Oh, no, I'm not. If you follow me on my personal page as well as this page on the company page, I'm very transparent. I'm actually going to. This ain't for bragging, but I actually said before the end of this month, I do want to share that story with people because I love to be transparent. I want to show people. Yeah, a year ago I did think about suicide. So through all of that I do, I'm pushing through the pain.
Oh yeah, pushing the pain. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a post of just because I want people to see. I don't want them to think, oh, she's great. No, a year ago when y'all didn't know about it, when I was still gaining custody, there's a lot to it. But I was gaining custody of my niece and nephew that I raised now. I was scared that they was going to not let me have the kids because I was open. I told them.
Okay.
And I got custody of my niece and nephew as of June of this year, but I had April of last year, and due to family issues, the reason why I didn't go through it last year is because I have them too. I know their parents, like you said, Ajane's mom took her on, but sometimes we all have different mindsets. Let's just go there. I'm not going to stereotype every parent and every person who's ever had a child to feel like they weren't part of their mind, say when they did what they did or what have you. But for me, my nephew, I couldn't.
Okay.
I just, where would they go?
Okay, right.
So for me, there was no option. For me, option was I had to live so that they can live.
Okay.
And now they know so much about suicide. They're 9 and 12 years old. They can school anybody else about suicide. They know about suicide prevention.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good because hopefully in their generation they can help somebody because they might be at school one day and hear a youngster say, "Oh, I want to take my life" or whatever, and listening to you and sitting under your tutelage, they'll be able to possibly help somebody else.
Yeah, and I don't want them to think suicide is an option for them because their life hasn't been great either. You know, when you're 9 years old, being taken away from your natural mother, still a family, but it's not the same. And I don't replace that. You know, I'm here to love on them and nurture them as a guardian should be. But I don't want them to think that's an option for them. I want them to know they can press through. And so they go to all my speaking engagements, and they were here this entire week. So not that they didn't come tonight, but they'll watch it.
Okay.
But they heard all the conversations this week. They heard about police brutality and racism.
Okay.
They heard about.
But you had some good topics this week. I chimed in on. The only one I don't think I chimed in was one yesterday because I had company.
Listen.
But I chimed in on all of them.
When you got 3 hours, because I've told you about tonight, when you got 3 hours to dedicate to yourself, go check it out.
Okay.
Because and when you check it out, I know you'll do this. And anybody who hasn't watched last night, you're just joining in because you know Queen Cookie. I appreciate you for joining and supporting her. I would love you to go back and watch all of K Nicole Company videos, and not because of me, y'all. I don't want you because of me. If there's anything you don't know about me, is know that I'm for the people. And I know people say that, politicians say that all the time, but I mean that thing. Okay. I believe that because of everyone's yes, made this. And I told you this. This is my best work I've ever done. This is the best work I've ever done.
You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Best work I've done. And it's because people like you who said yes. And I'm going to just say this. I don't know if people realize I ain't paying none of these people. Nothing. But they have invested in time into you and myself. You know, like you. To pour out and tell a story. And I say that not bragging, but when you got somebody we almost on here for 2 hours right now.
Yeah, see.
Yesterday was 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Wednesday and Tuesday was 2 hours. And Monday was the only shortest night of an hour and 45 or 50 minutes.
Well, you know, I'm gonna tell you right now, hopefully in about 2 hours, we'll be closing out. I don't mean to tell you what do with your show.
Oh no, we got to
go. So older ladies, we can't sit too long without having to empty our bladders.
No, we about to go. We about to go. So I'm gonna say all I say, and then I'll be done, and then I'm gonna let you end this out. Okay. For all those people who are not friends with the K Nicole Company page, please go follow it. Don't just like it, go follow it. Please go watch the other videos, replay them, watch them, share them. They're all encouraging, uplifting. Some of them make you emotional. I don't think they should make you mad. If anything, they should make you feel there's community there and there's a peace of mind. Also, if you are here in the Lorain County area, or I should say, if you're here in Ohio, period, and other surrounding areas, you can, and if you're not other states, you can do this right now. I'm literally jumping off of this live, going down to the next city to be on radio. It is 89.1 FM radio. Am I saying this FM? Let me make sure I'm saying that right. I hate to say something wrong. Oh, Jesus. Make sure I'm saying that right. I will be on the radio. The show actually starts here at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be late. They know that. But you can join me. We're 89.7 FM. I'm about to jump on there. The show is about church kids. And I got a different outlook. I was growing in church, but I got such a different perspective on church. And so it starts tonight at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be on there. Again, follow this page. Follow me. This page is not about all about me, but it's about me serving you. That's what I want to leave off on. It's about me serving the people. And so on that note, Queen Cookie, let us know where they can find you. Drop the phone number for Suicide Hotline, and we're gonna leave out on that note.
Okay. Well, I would like to let anybody know that might be struggling with problems in life and situations. You can always contact the National Suicide Lifeline, and that number is 1-800-273-TALK, and the numbers for TALK is 8255, or you can text 741-741 and type in home or help, and you will be able to live chat with somebody that can hopefully get you through the day. I can be reached on Facebook, as I call Facebook, and my name is Earlene Queen Cookie Mac Belcher. I'm on Instagram, Queen_Cookie, and I'm on Twitter, Queen Cookie. All righty, so that's how you can reach me. My favorite entity is Facebook. Okay, I'm mostly on Facebook. Sometimes I'll jump on Instagram, and every now and then I'll do Twitter, because Twitter is the whole world, and I just sort of like to be intimate with my Facebook friends.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, on that note, y'all, thank you. And I just want to say this on this last post for everyone. I'll plug everybody's name on another post, but I thank Michael Johnson, James Payne, Ashley Bennett, Alan Israeli, Graves, Mike Dean, Courtney Price, Mariah Ballard Johnson, Kiana Parker, Alexis Baker, Carlos Christian, and Queen Cookie were all saying yes. And if you haven't noticed by anything I've said, we were all Black, and it didn't take me but being persistent for some, and they all said yes. And we did not argue, not one time. Black people can't work together. I just want people to know, in this state of mental health, we can work together for the good for everyone else. So on that note, happy Saturday. Find Queen Cookie, bug her page so she can give us some more raunchy comedies.
They can also go on YouTube, and they can put up the funky raw on YouTube. Just put up Queen Cookie at Toledo Funny Bone, or just Queen Cookie, and you'll be able to put up all my raunchy live comedy shows.
And look here, I'm gonna tell the church folks, you watch them on Saturday night, so you have a reason to go to the altar on Sundays. For people who be like, I ain't got nothing to pray to Jesus about, you go watch them videos and then go pray on Sunday. There you go. On that note, thank you, Queen Cookie. Love you. I mean that though. I really do. I'm so glad that God is blessing us, our paths across, and we're not done. No. We just getting started. Yeah. And I said I was gonna plug this in. Make sure people follow me. If you're not following K Nicole Cummings, please follow. Because why? I believe by tomorrow I'm going to drop the registration link for this assist program that me, Queen Cookie, met at in November. Do you recall how much it was? Do you recall how much the price of it was? I can't.
I don't remember, but I know it included breakfast and lunch and different things like that. But I can't remember what the price.
I want to tell people. I want to give a price because I want people to realize how much of an investment it is.
Good investment. Yeah.
And
also, before I leave, I would just like to reiterate to please go on Amazon Prime.
There you go.
And watch A Cry for Help, the Ajahnay Burt story. It's the documentary that I produced about my grandson, Ajane, who took his life at 25 years young. It's also on Vudu. It's on iTunes, Google Play, and the other one is Mob. I just got this one put on there, Mobile TV. It just started not too long ago. So do yourself a favor and watch that and write a review. Please feel free.
I gotta go write a review because I did watch it today. So I gotta go watch. I gotta go write a review. But I got you. I got you.
All right, baby.
Good night, everyone. Good
Bye.
night, Cookie.
Bye-bye.